What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to some Black Ops 4. We actually have some pubs for you today, and this one is pretty special. It's not just any public match game. This one is my first ever 100 plus in Black Ops 4. So dating back to the, Advanced Warfare days, I've been trying to get 100 plus every year. I know Black Ops 3 I did it. I think Infinite Warfare I finally got it after a while. World War II I think I got it after a while. And then with this game I finally got it after not too long. I mean, I haven't really been going for it. I've just been kind of playing. But enjoy that in the background while we talk about the CWL Fort Worth event that just happened this past weekend. I'm recording this on Monday after it, so I'm a little still not feeling that great. But let's start with the open bracket. Now, this is the first time ever the open bracket has not been incorporated into the actual tournament. So the open bracket kind of had their own tournament in a sense with their own prize pool and everything. It wasn't that much, but for amateur teams that don't really have a lot to play for, it was a pretty good event. So the winners, I guess I'll read the top three that finished. In third place, you had Cyclone, which was Glow Frosty, Pander, Spoof, Super, and Zapdos. Congrats to them on Cyclone. Second place, you had Mind Freak. This team was actually close to making the Pro League, but Mind Freak, Shocks, Fida, Luca, Swifty, Setzi, and Coach Buzzo. Congrats to them. Second place. And in first place, you had FaZe Clan Black with Asim, Phantoms, Gravity, Simp, and Celium. Congrats to everyone that played in the open bracket. Kind of sucks that they weren't incorporated into the actual tournament, because that would have been kind of awesome. But it's kind of cool to see them have their own little tournament. But you can also see some people on Twitter here with this post saying that, it's kind of lame because they want to see the open bracket teams, stack up against the pro teams and everything. And this wasn't the only comment. Just kind of the one person I kind of chose that chose to talk about it. But on to the actual tournament, we had Pool A. Now I'm going to go through them one by one, discuss how they went through, and kind of talk about what my predictions were in the predictions video. So in Pool A, you had Genji, Heretics, UIU, and Denial. My top two of this one was Genji and Heretics. However, one of those teams ended up at the top. One of them ended at the bottom. So that kind of sucked to see, but Genji finished the pool 3-0 with a 9-3 map count. Denial actually played pretty well, 2-1 in the pool. Then you had UIU and Heretics, 1-2 for UIU, 0-3 for Heretics. Really surprised Heretics didn't come out and play a little bit better. I mean, looking at the results, they lost in Game 5. They lost in a 3-0 fashion, and then they lost, I guess they lost in every way possible, 3-2, 3-1, and 3-0. So, I don't really know what wrong for them, but they ended up finishing 0-3. So, my two did not come out in this one, but Genji and Denial made it to the winner's bracket. And out of Pool B, this one I thought was going to be pretty clear-cut. However, Red Reserve, Enigma 6 is the big team that came out and really surprised everyone. They went 2-1. They ended up taking out, let's see, so they beat EG, and they lost on 100 Thieves, so they must have, yeah, they beat Red Reserve, which went in top of their group. So that was really surprising. I mean, I don't know what to say. They recently made a roster change, and what's funny is, not funny, but after the event, Red Reserve's Bance announced that he was a free agent. So I don't really know what or why they would make a change, unless there was some internal issues that weren't just in the public eye. But they finished top of their pool, Red Reserve, and then in second place Enigma 6, moving both of them to the winners bracket. And in Pool C, the only pool I have gotten correct so far was Pool C, with Splice at 3-0 and Luminosity Gaming at 2-1. The only matchup LG ended up losing was to Splice. So if you're only losing to the top team, you're in a pretty good spot. But like I said before, this pool, I keep saying division, this pool was clear cut. I mean, Splice and Luminosity are very good teams, and then Accelerate and Midnight recently changed, and they're not very good. Now, if Midnight still had their old team, then maybe I would have thought about an upset, but with the recent roster changes, they absolutely suck. But Splice and LG move on to the winners bracket. Now into Pool D, the Pool of Death. Now this one was by far the most stacked pool out of all of them. You look at the rest of them, I mean, Pool B, you kind of have, well, even then you kind of have only two. But even, no, there's no question. Pool D, 100% hardest pool out of anyone. Not just saying that because Optic was in this pool, but this one is kind of stacked. But you had Optic Gaming, E United, Team Envy, and Team Reciprocity. Had Optic and E United coming out of this group, but I did say that Reciprocity or Envy could come out and cause upsets. And let's just say they basically did that. So, first matchup, Optic Gaming lose to Reciprocity, Game 5. Envy 3-0 United, Envy beat Optic 3-1. United beat Reciprocity, which was kind of surprising. But then Optic 3-0'd Envy, or not Envy, United, and then Reciprocity beat Envy. So it was a bit crazy going forward, and in that last matchup, if Envy would have won that, I believe then Optic Gaming would have been in the winners bracket somehow. I don't really know how, but it has to do with like tiebreakers and head-to-heads and whatever else. Absolutely crazy there, but Reciprocity and Team Envious come out of Pool D. Really surprisingly, I mean, Reciprocity played really well this event. Envy came out and were playing pretty well themselves. However, let's jump into the bracket now. I want to start with the losers side of the bracket. So the first round of losers bracket was Accelerate and Heretics. Accelerate, like I said before, they are just not a good team anymore. Not like they were the greatest before, but with the roster changes, they kind of picked up a whole bunch of leftovers, and there's not that great of a team. But they end up facing Heretics. Heretics go winless in pools, but they get the first win of the tournament against Accelerate, beating them in a Game 5 fashion. The second matchup, 100 Thieves versus E United in the losers bracket. First round of the losers bracket, 100 Thieves versus E United. This matchup could have been in the grand finals. That's how crazy this is. But 100 Thieves takes this one 3-1. Not really much to say, but E United just wasn't playing like themselves this tournament. Just, I don't know what was off, but something was off for them. Third matchup, we have UYU versus Midnight. Like I said, Midnight are just not a good team. They picked up people that didn't make the Pro League, and they dropped a team that made the Pro League. Terrible move by them. But they get 3-0'd by a UYU. Nothing really to say here. Midnight, terrible organization. We have Optic Gaming versus Evil Geniuses in the first round of the winners bracket. I guess the last matchup of the losers bracket here. Optic came out a little slow, but came back in the hard point by like 100 and whatever points and beat EG there. They came back 2-5 in Search and Destroy, and at that point, Optic Gaming kind of ran away with the control. But Optic Gaming 3-0, moving them to the second round. And in the second round, we have, jumping up to the winner's side of the bracket, we have Gen G versus LG. And this one was an absolute powerhouse of a matchup, but Luminosity Gaming, or LG, end up taking this one Game 5. I did watch this one. This was a very intense matchup. But LG knocks Gen G down to the losers bracket. Then we had Reciprocity versus E6. E6, really surprising they were here. We talked about that before. Reciprocity also playing really well this event. But E6 continues their run as a 3-0 versus Team Reciprocity, knocking Rec down to the losers bracket. Then we have Splice versus Denial in the first round here. This one was a very close game. 3-2 in favor of Splice. Denial was playing really well this event. Denial, great team. One of the teams that were at the bottom of the league and didn't end up making a change. But Denial ends up getting knocked down to the losers bracket. We move on to the last matchup of winners bracket. We have Red Reserve versus Team Envy. And this one, Envy came out and came top 2 in their pools, which no one expected. And what also no one expected was for them to get 3-0'd by Red Reserve. So Envy gets knocked down to the losers bracket. Now we're down in the losers bracket for the next couple of rounds. We have Envious versus Heretics. This one could have gone either way. Heretics end up coming out, beating them 3-1. It's really weird how Heretics came out and didn't win a match in pool play, yet they come out and win the first 2 rounds of losers bracket. But then moving on to the second round, we have Denial versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves come out in 3-0 Denial, although Denial did play really well this event. The results don't show it though. But 100 Thieves with the 3-0 fashion. Then with our third matchup of losers bracket here, we have Reciprocity versus UYU. UYU's a decent team, but Reciprocity just looked that much better. They come out with the Game 5 victory and send UYU home. In our last matchup for the second round in the losers bracket, we have Genji versus Optic Gaming. This one was tough to watch because Optic could have had this and sent Genji home, but Optic Gaming fall short and lose in a Game 5 versus Genji. So their run stopped there. All around a tough event for Optic, obviously. Losing Dashy for the Pro League, having to sub in Zuma, and then getting a little bit of practice right before, Fort Worth. And, their pre-land didn't really help them or Heretics or really Envy. I mean, just a tough situation all around. But GG's to Genji as they move on into round 3. In round 3, we have Genji versus Reciprocity. Reciprocity continues their run of Game 5s and beats Genji in the Game 5 fashion. This one was an absolutely intense matchup. Really fun to watch. So GG's to them. Reciprocity moves on to round 4. In our last round 3 matchup, we had 100 Thieves versus Heretics. This is where Heretics fell short and got 3-0'd by 100 Thieves. Really tough to see, obviously, but 100 Thieves continue to run. And in round 4, we're down to the final 8 teams of the tournament. We have LG versus E6. Luminosity Gaming come out 3-0 E6. Their Cinderella story in the winners bracket stops. However, they still have a chance for redemption in the losers bracket. The second matchup in winners bracket, we have Splice versus Red Reserve, the Battle of Europe. This one, actually it's not a Battle of Europe since Splice isn't really a European team anymore, but Splice versus Red Reserve either way. Game 3, 3-0 for Splice. Tough seeing Red Reserve go out like that, but again, they still have a chance in the losers bracket. Then we had E6 dropping down from the winners bracket to face off against 100 Thieves. This is where the Cinderella story of E6 ends. They get 3-1, or I guess lose 3-1 to 100 Thieves. Again, tough to see, but E6 definitely made some noise this tournament. Congrats to them. In our last matchup of round 4 in the losers bracket, we had Red Reserve versus Team Reciprocity. And this one, the run continues. Team Reciprocity, another Game 5 victory as they move on into round 5 and the final 16. And in round 5, we had 100 Thieves versus Team Reciprocity. And although Reciprocity have been clutching up the Game 5s, this time they beat 100 Thieves in 4 games, moving them to the final 3 teams in the losers bracket. Absolutely stellar run so far by Team Reciprocity. We have our final 3 teams. We have LG, Splice, and Team Reciprocity. We have to figure out who faces Team Reciprocity in the losers bracket, and that's where the matchup of LG versus Splice comes in. This one was a rematch from pool play, and this time LG gets Splice's number and beats them 3-1, securing themselves in the grand final. So then the losers bracket final, we have Splice versus Reciprocity. This one, very close games. It could have gone either way, but this time Reciprocity can't clutch up in the Game 5. Splice earns themselves a spot to face off against LG in the rematch of the winners finals. Then in the grand finals, we have a rematch, like I said, of the winners bracket finals. And from pool play, pool C, we have LG versus Splice. This time, LG gets the win over Splice. Absolutely crazy games. And congrats to Gunless, Formal, John, Slacked, and Classic, and Coach Ricky, and the entire Luminosity Gaming organization for the win. Obviously, you don't want to see them win, but I guess if we're looking at the more positive note, that I was right in half of my prediction for the grand final of Optic Gaming LG in the grand final. But it sucks that Optic lost. GG's to everyone that played. I'm really excited for the upcoming cross-division league play coming up. But then we have CWL London, I think, coming up in like a month or two. I think after all the Pro League gets sorted out. So, GG's to everyone at Fort Worth. Forgettable one for Optic Gaming fans. But there's always the Pro League, Scrims, and CWL London coming up to regain the top of the mountain. But if you guys did enjoy, leave a like down below. Comment your thoughts of the video and from the tournament down in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.